a victory that happened with the Maccabees well over 2,000 years ago. Really almost 200 years before the birth of Christianity. Now, Hannukah, when you think about it, it's not merely a Jewish celebration, but on its victory, the Western world turns. Because had the Maccabees not been victorious, then you would not have the birth of Christianity some 200 years later, and you wouldn't have the Western world as we know it. I'm not sure we would be standing at Stanford. I don't know what would be. We'll ask the historians, but certainly the way we have history today, Hannukah is really part of a pivotal moment ultimately in Western civilization as well. And here I'd share what comes to mind when we light the menorah. I'll share with you a secret. The Federation is a big Jewish organization. And sometimes they need a fundraise like all big Jewish organizations need to do. And they have this secret when they need to raise a very large sum. So what they do is they go to some donor, they call them mega donors, people who could give massive fashion. And they try to convince them to go on a tour to Israel. And they show them the great work that they do in the Holy Land. And after a 5 or 6 day trip of the top hotels and the most impressive sites, they ask them for 5 million, 10 million, 20, whatever it is. But so there was one fellow, we'll call him Jack, very wealthy fellow, never wanted to go on this trip to Israel. 1 year, after 5 years of nudging, he says, okay, I'm going to go. He says, on one condition. What's the condition? He says, I have this pet chihuahua. It's the love of my life. If you let it come with me to the Holy Land, then I'm going to go. So they say, for sure, you go. You can have a golden cage. We're going to give it El Al first class. It's going to be top treatment. He's going to have kosher biscuits, organic biscuits. It's going to be really, we're going to take care of this dog for you. Anyways, they land in Israel, and the El Al gets the message that because of the pressures and the velocity, whatever happens, the dog perished in the middle of the flight. Calamity struck. So what are they going to do? This guy without his dog, it's all over. They're not going to, it's going to be a failure of a fundraising. So anyways, they have connections with the Mossad. The Mossad is the intelligence service in Israel. And they say, just take your iPhone, take a picture of this dog, and within a half hour, we're going to have a new one. No one will know the difference. We know how to do these things. We're experts. So just bring him to some new cafe in the airport, and they say, no problem. They say, all right, Jack, we just, a new cafe. We want to show you a new Israeli kind of coffee. Okay, sure. They're in northern Israel. The Mossad finds an old woman. She's walking with a dog from the same family, the same mishpacha. They surround her. They say national security. They kidnap the dog. They just take it from her. And that's what they do. That's how they do business there. And it's on a helicopter, and it's makeup and nails. They have all their veterinarians, top. By the time it lands in Tel Aviv, the dog looks identical. The human eye can't tell the difference. This dog looks like the dead dog. You can't tell. They have it in the cage. They get rid of the old one. They have it in the cage, and they're bringing it to this fellow, and he's looking, and his face turns white, and he faints. And the Mossad is baffled. How did he figure this out? This was, it's never happened before. They put water on, he comes back. They say, what happened? What? He says, a miracle happened. I brought my dog to be buried in Israel. It's alive again. And in a way that tells us something about Hannukah, the miracle of Hannukah, because of the Jewish tribe, many have said, maybe even rightly, for thousands of years that they're finished, it's over, it's time for Kaddish, they're gone, it's over. Even in the times of the Maccabees, it didn't look like we would survive, but yet the miracle of Hannukah, and we're about to kindle the flames, we say Shehecheyanu is the acknowledgement that although many in a way have said the Jewish people and a certain philosophy and a way of life and a way of bringing light into the world is gone, it's finished, but the miracle of Hannukah reminds us that the holiness, the love, the mitzvah has incredible power to move human history and to live again. It has that power to cause people to live again. And as we light the menorah, you'll notice that we light one light. Tonight we kindle one light. And we add tomorrow night another light. And one of the key miracles of Hannukah is they found a small cruse of oil. It was supposed to last one night, it lasted 8. But part of the philosophical idea is we shouldn't dismiss small things, small mitzvot, small acts of kindness, small acts of holiness. A small good deed on a random day changes our life, changes the person's life next to us, and changes history. So it's actually small deeds, one person at a time, one day at a time, that actually move history in beautiful ways. Because if you say I have to be a president of a country to change history, so it's disempowering, and ultimately it's not true. The idea of Hannukah is that you want to bring light into the world, and you want to actually change your environment and ultimately human history. Don't disparage one light, one candle. One candle is very beautiful. And the next day you add another act. And I'll conclude by saying this. I read this story. It captures the message of Hannukah. We're going to go into the blessing together. I read this story that there was a Scottish farmer. His name was Fleming. And Fleming, was once on his farm, and he heard a child crying. And the child was sinking in quicksand, and he had a rake with him. He took the rake and he extended it to the kid because he couldn't go into the mud, and he saved the kid. The kid grabbed the rake and he pulled the rake. Fine, so he saved this kid. The next day, a nobleman comes to Fleming's house, and he said, "You saved my kid yesterday. I want to give you a reward." So the guy says, "You're crazy. I saved your child. I don't take rewards for saving a child who was drowning." At that moment, Fleming kids came to the door. The wealthy guy said, "Look, let me pay for your kid to have the same education my child has." He said, "Okay, fine, that I'll do." And this kid, Fleming's kid, ended up going to St. Francis Medical School in London. And decades later, he became Alexander Fleming. This kid became Alexander, who discovered penicillin, who saved millions of lives. A few decades after that, the nobleman's child caught pneumonia. He wasn't going to make it, but he had penicillin, and penicillin saved the nobleman's child. So the story concluded that the nobleman was Randolph Churchill, and his son was Winston Churchill. Now, I didn't see this story in the Talmud. I saw it in a book. Is it historically accurate, every detail? I don't know. You have to ask the experts. But morally, it's 100% accurate. See, that's how you save yourself. You want to tell a good story, just say a line like that. But morally, it's 100% true. So think for a moment here. Could Fleming have known that his act is going to save his child and millions of people, and Churchill, who will save the Western civilization from a new dark age? Could he have known that? Of course not. You can't know that, because the future is inherently unknowable. But this we know. Our acts, you have a rake in your hand, and somebody needs your help, use the rake. How can I make a difference in the world? Don't make a difference in the world. Make a difference in somebody who's crying next to you. What do you have, a latke in your hand? Give it to the person who doesn't have a latke. You don't know what that will do in a decade, huh? See, that's how it works. But that's the message of Hannukah, that we want to change history. Don't say we can't be involved. We hear a cry, we see a need, respond to the call, and we open up our hearts with love. When we kindle a light, when we allow our soul to kindle the light of somebody else's heart and soul, then light joins to light. And together, when we all kindle our inner menorah and the outer menorah, and what it's symbolic of, then together we bring new light into the world, and we ultimately will bathe the world in a whole new light of love and laughter and holiness. So I want to wish you a happy Hanukkah. And with this, we're going to call the Stanford choir that's being launched this evening, and you can buy their CDs or whatever, download. It will be available later this evening.
Elohim. Onvei tefilati, Bisham Todan Yizabea, Lejatin Ladbea, Mitzor Hamnabea, Azegmor Beshir Mizmor, Hannukah Tamizbeach, Azegmor Beshir Mizmor, Hannukah Tamizbeach.